they give speeches in my class. I'm usually pretty direct when I criticize them. When I stood up yesterday in front of them to give a speech, I could tell they were thinking, finally it's payback. But they gave me some good tips and suggestions, so thank you. I'm going to give you some background and facts about my time at PALS, and I'll give you 3 reasons why I think teaching at PALS is a really positive experience. I've been a tutor for about 4 years. I teach a 2-hour class once a week. Over the 4 years, I've had probably about 100 students representing 36 countries, from Africa, the Middle East, Asia, Europe, Latin America. PALS accepts students with all levels of English. In my particular case, my students typically have been in Canada for more than a year. They're aged 25 to 45. They can speak well and they listen well, but their pronunciation is weak and their writing is not so good. So some of them are studying for internationally recognized exams like TOEFL or IELTS, trying to pass them. Some are looking for a job, some are looking for a better job, and some are trying to get into an education placement, so quite a variety. And eventually they're successful in getting a job or getting a placement. And so I have a transient class. Typically my students last about 11 of my classes and then they find something else and they move on. However, I've had some students who have been with me for 2 to 3 years. One stalwart, an Iranian obstetrician, has attended 106 of my classes. So we're like good friends. I was pretty overwhelmed when I started as a tutor at PALS because there was no real curriculum for my classes. I'm an engineer, I'm not a teacher, nor am I an English major. So I wondered how am I going to fill up 2 hours to occupy my students. But I didn't have to worry because my students asked questions. They asked lots and lots of questions about grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, slang, idioms, once in a while swear words, things they've heard, things they've read, and in particular behavior and customs in Canada. So I quickly understood what it was they were looking for, and using the PALS library as a resource and using the internet, I was able to plan classes to meet the needs of my class. I began with 3 students. My boss kind of pushed me to take on more. So right now I have about 10 students. I spend about 30 hours a month preparing classes, teaching classes, doing homework, and I help some people with their resumes and job applications as well. So what do I get out of this? Why do I spend my 30 hours a month? I figure if I said 30 hours a week per month, 30 hours a month. First thing is it gives me an opportunity to be creative. I thought that with no curriculum I was in big trouble, but I figured out actually it's an opportunity to invent. Now, some of you might not want to stare at a blank piece of paper as a lesson plan every week, but I like trying to figure out what to do for 2 hours in my class. I get to pick topics for debates, readings to improve pronunciation, questions for off-the-cuff speeches, audio recordings for listening practice, dramas for improving speaking with expression, and select artworks to give students a chance to talk about how they feel. How does this artwork make them feel? So I'll give you a list of some of the things that we've talked about in the various speaking, reading, writing, and listening exercises. Wills and personal directives, the life of Pierre Trudeau, house planning, pieces of art, the life of Dr. Grant McHugh, human trafficking, pros and cons of school uniform, risks of payday loans, notes in the event of parking lot accidents, notes to noisy neighbors, complaints to the city, thank you notes to the city, thank you notes for good service, the impact of the internet, the behavior of today's children. Amazing how all over the world everybody doesn't like the behavior of today's children. The impact of various poems and plays, and what's of great interest to me, their own home country customs, celebrations, and experiences. So in all these exercises, I learn a lot, and I learn especially a lot about other countries. Through speeches, reading, and writing, I've learned about students' experiences growing up, their country's art, history, and social customs, their family traditions, and their religious and cultural celebrations. I can tell you their lives have been very different from my own. I've grown up in Canada. I'll give you two examples. I had a young man from West Africa. He had a master's degree from his country's University of Risk Management. He was married and had a child, so it sounds like a pretty normal Canadian kind of guy. I asked him if he had any brothers and sisters, and he said, yeah, he had 24. I said, well, what? How can this be? And he said, well, my dad had 4 wives. And I said, like, one after the other? And he said, no, all at the same time. So very different. I also had a 35-year-old Somali woman who had come to Canada about 10 years ago. And she'd never been to school. Really amazing in this world that somebody never been to school. So she shared with me that she wanted to be a doctor. And I thought, well, if somebody said to me, here's a 35-year-old woman who had a grade 1 education, she'd actually started school, and her grade 1 child's year started. So if somebody said, well, 35-year-old woman with a grade 1 education, how can she be a doctor? It's impossible. But she was so dedicated and so smart. I wouldn't be surprised if she would make it. If she makes it, so amazing. So that leads me to the third thing about this job, which I have trouble talking about. A lot of my students they're holding down a job, some have 2 jobs, some of them work overtime, but yet they come to my class, and I think that's a real compliment. So I just say in conclusion that I want to thank Helen for giving these students who are dedicated, hardworking. I'd like to thank Hal for the opportunity to be creative and to learn, to make a difference. I must commend Shirley, the work she does, all the Hal's board, staff, owners, my students. They fight a mighty battle. And you guys are making